1 Thessalonians 1:8. For from you sounded out the word of the Lord, not only in Macedonia and Achaia, but also in every place your faith to Godward is spread abroad, so that we need not to speak anything. So for context here, Paul's talking about how he knows that the Thessalonians are part of the elect. So recently I saw this post of someone on Twitter saying, I'm going to teach my kids about Santa Claus. I'm going to teach them. He was a great Christian. But I just had one question for them. Why do you believe that Nicholas was a great Christian? The immediate response I got was, well, he's Saint Nicholas. Obviously he must be a Christian. But of course, saint isn't a title that we give to people to make them Christian. You are a saint if you believe the gospel. If you are a Christian, you are a saint automatically. And if you're going to say, well, he must be a Christian because everyone thought he was a Christian, well, then you got a problem, because there are lots of false prophets who deceive people. And the really stupid thing people say is, well, he was obviously a Christian because he punched that guy at the Council of Nicaea. First of all, I would say anyone who was at the Council of Nicaea in the first place is pretty suspect, because we know there are all sorts of false denominations out there. Would you go to a council where you're going to talk to a load of false Christians and try to agree on what true Christianity is? But all that aside, punching someone because they disagree with you about theology is not Christian. That is not Christ-like. The whole thing is gross, and the fact there's so many people out there celebrating Saint Nicholas, like, oh, he punched that guy in the face because he disagreed with him. He punched him because he had the wrong beliefs about Jesus. Doesn't that prove he's a fantastic Christian? No. Let me say this right now. If you punch someone because they disagree with you about Christianity, if you use physical violence to resolve a disagreement over words, you are not living like Jesus Christ. So no, don't teach your kids that Santa is actually Saint Nicholas, and Saint Nicholas was this wonderful, fantastic Christian, because you don't know that. So this is just my little rant as we approach Advent, but I do just want to touch on what this verse is actually saying, which is how we can know someone is a Christian. We can know someone is a Christian if their enthusiasm for the gospel is so well known that everyone's talking about the fact that they believe the gospel. And what is the gospel? The gospel is how we are saved. It's the good news about us being saved. That Jesus Christ was not created, that's not the gospel. The thing that Santa Claus punched that guy over, that's not the gospel. That doesn't show any enthusiasm for that. What we would need to believe that someone is saved is evidence that they have been widely preaching the gospel message, the message by which we are saved. So personally, my stance is I'm not going to say someone's definitely not a Christian unless I have reasons based on their works to conclude they're not a Christian, like, for example, someone who goes around punching people because they disagree with him about religion. But I'm definitely not going to refer to someone as a saint unless there is clear evidence that they have been preaching the gospel far and wide.